This is Qtv News. I am Marietu Sidibe and thanks for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. Yesterday, President Barrow attended the first ever virtual meeting of the Cabinet's COVID-19 subcommittee. Officials of the Food Safety and Quality Authority have issued a warning to food business operators against selling expired food products and give the all clear on chicken imported from Brazil. In international news, a former sports journalist has added his name to the crowded field of those vying to be elected president of Uganda. In sports news, we hear from Gambian athlete Fatou Sow, who took part in the Stockholm Diamond League, matching up with some of the finest sprinters in the women's 100 meters final. Also, Gambian's #1 female tennis player, Binta Kamara, says she has not played her favorite sport since February due to the coronavirus pandemic restrictions. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. In local news, President Barrow attended the first ever virtual meeting of the Cabinet Subcommittee on COVID-19, which was chaired by the Vice President, Dr. Aissatou Touré. According to a release from State House, among other remarks, President Adama Barrow said the COVID-19 pandemic has not spared any part of the globe, including the Gambia. He added, despite the small size of the country, if everyone adhered to the health guidelines, we would register significant progress in the fight against the virus. More in this report.
President Adama Barrow participates in the first virtual meeting comprising members of his Cabinet Subcommittee on COVID-19. The meeting gives the President an opportunity to interact and receive first-hand briefing from the committee on the progress and challenges facing the country in the fight against COVID-19. President Adama Barrow speaks to the Cabinet Subcommittee on COVID-19, acknowledging that a lot needs to be done as the pandemic is affecting every sector. In this meeting, the President calls for a collaborative effort of stakeholders, whom he also tasked to seek knowledge and support from others when necessary. Both the Minister of Health and the National COVID-19 Response Coordinator briefed the committee on the containment strategies the country is undertaking to overcome the challenges in the face of surge in COVID-19 infections across the country. Among the strategies include the centralization of testing facilities for more accessibility at rural communities. Already there are testing facilities in Soma, Kiankinaba and Basse, and are already operational, according to the briefing in this meeting. Meanwhile, Farafenye, Bansang, the Independent Stadium and Demban Clinic are being prepared for accommodation and treatment of COVID-19 patients. It was also revealed that over 80 beds are available and currently over 20 of them were being used in the Greater Banjul area. To strengthen surveillance strategies for the containment of the community transmission of the virus, the government plans to build the capacity of surveillance workers and increase the number of tests per day. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
Officials of the Food Safety and Quality Authority on Monday issued a warning to food business operators in the country against selling expired food products and gave the all clear on chicken imported from Brazil. And Sumana Isonyasi reports.
As well as the warning, the authority also told QTV that chicken imported from Brazil has been inspected and confirmed safe for consumption. This follows recent reports in China that part of a large consignment of chicken imported from Brazil was contaminated with COVID-19. The warning comes amidst widespread reports and complaints of a high presence of expired food products in the markets. Officials of the country's main food regulatory body say they are launching a crackdown on food business operators involved in selling expired food products. With most products nearing their expiration date, companies and food business operators resort to flooding them in the markets instead of disposing of them. Halimatu Balde, a senior risk communication officer at the Food Safety and Quality Authority, says they are intensifying a campaign against those selling expired food products, and anyone found doing so will have their products confiscated and likely face prosecution.
We at the office, we are not relenting on ensuring that foods that are exposed for sale in the market are of the best products. So therefore, expiry food items are not things that we joke with. And then these are things that, of course, normally they can be seen in the market sporadically sometimes. But then I can comfortably say that the office is always on the watch on these food items being sold in the market, called expiry food items.
The Senior Risk Communications Officer urges the public to report suspects to the authorities for immediate action.
Although it is our duty as a regulatory office to ensure that these foods are not placed in the market. But for instance, we are not everywhere. We cannot be everywhere, and then we cannot be on people 24 hours round the clock. Sometimes we have times that we are off. So therefore, everybody's business is food business. Everybody has to be a police office to make sure that the food that they are consuming is not expired.
On a separate matter, we engaged the FSQA's principal scientific officer on what the authority is doing regarding chicken imported into the country. Brazil is the Gambia's second largest importer of chicken after the US, with over 30,000 cartons imported since the start of the pandemic, according to the FSQA. But recent reports emerging from China allege that part of a large consignment of chicken imported from Brazil tested positive with COVID-19 has raised fears about the safety of imported Brazilian chicken. But Lamin Jaite, the principal scientific officer of FSQA, has allayed fears, saying chicken imported from Brazil has been inspected and confirmed safe for human consumption.
What we can tell the public is that they should not really be worried about that, because there is no evidence to show that COVID-19 can be transmitted through food. What they have to do is follow the general guidelines, follow the general procedures of washing your hands. Even if there is COVID-19 on food products or food packaging, if you wash your hand, you inactivate the virus. The virus, you will kill off the virus if you wash your hand, if your hand is contaminated. Also, if the food itself is contaminated, we cook our food before we consume. And the temperatures at which we subject our foods to will eliminate all of these things. So even if that is so, it will not be there.
While calling on the public to support the authority by reporting all suspects, officials say they are also facing many challenges, especially in terms of enforcement and mobility. Ansman Esonyasi for Qtv News.
We will go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, the news continues with international and sports news. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. In international news, former sports journalist Joseph Kabuleta has added his name to the crowded field of those vying to be elected president of Uganda in elections due to take place in January 2021. Lolly M. Kamara has more.
Joseph Kabuleta is a former sport editor of sports at the New Vision newspaper, Uganda's leading daily paper, from 2002 to 2006. He was also president of the Uganda Sports Press Association, USPA, and affiliate of AISPS. According to reports, Kabuleta was still working in sports broadcasting on a part-time basis until in 2018. Then it was clear that he had built an interest in politics and used his social media platforms to write opinions, criticizing government of corruption and nepotism, while calling for an equitable distribution of Uganda's wealth among its citizens. His severely critical opinions landed him in trouble with the government, and in July 2019, Kabuleta was picked up by a plainclothed security agents from a cafe in Kampala, where he was having an evening cup of coffee, and was taken away to an unknown destination. But later, police disclosed his whereabouts to family and his lawyers, after pressure mounted via mainstream media and social media. The former journalist has also become notorious for his whistleblower-style Facebook post dubbed Joseph Kabuleta Weekly Rants, in which he sharply criticized the government of Uganda for its corruption, gross mismanagement of resources, and covert operations that he believes undermine the prosperity of Ugandans. On July 8, 2019, Joseph Kabuleta posted a weekly rant on Facebook titled Mafia Empire and the Transition, condemning a purported move by President Yoweri Museveni to make his son Muhoozi Kainerugaba his successor. He was charged with annoying the person of the president under a recently enacted Computer Misuse Act. After 4 nights in detention, he got released on a police bond. His campaign slogan of financial liberation focuses on improving the livelihood of Ugandans, many of whom live in abject poverty. Kabuleta now joins an ever-expanding list of candidates, the most well-known among whom is Kaya Dodo, East MP, and artist Honorable Robert Kaya Hangulei, who goes by his state name Bobby Wine. They are all seeking to unseat President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has been in power for 34 years and seeking at least 7 more. The East African country is gearing up for a contentious general election in January 2021, and nominations are due to start in September according to the electoral roadmap. Bobby Wine has gathered the most national and international coverage and appears to be building momentum as the main contender, as MPs from the ruling National Resistance Movement and other opposition parties have been switching to his People Power movement in recent weeks. The current president, Museveni, is popular in polls as the pre-elections opinion polls places him first with 47% and Kayangulani second with 21%. A presidential candidate in Uganda must receive 50% plus 1 vote in the election to avoid a runoff. As he is again becoming the first one across Africa, President Museveni convenes parliament to remove presidential age and term limits and will be bidding for a 6th term in office. He has also adjusted his age, saying there had been a mistake and that he is 4 years younger than was previously recorded. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
And now, here is the sports news. Gambian athlete Fatou Sow took part in the Stockholm Diamond League, matching up with some of the finest sprinters in the women's 100 meters final. Although she finished last, she says competing at this level is a dream come true. Momodu Gajaga has the rest of that story.
Putting aside her injury worries, she took her place in lane 1. The 27-year-old Sweden-based Gambian-born sprinter has set her goals high. She spent most of last season nursing an injury, and the least she would expect is finishing ahead of experienced athletes such as Angela Del Ponte, Marie van Honigstein, and Marie-José Talou.
I was so excited. I mean, I was nervous, but I was excited because it's been a while I haven't been out there in the world. Like, I was excited for the spotlight, like, especially to compete with the best out of the world. And when they say Diamond League, everyone knows that, okay, it's every athlete's dream. So I was super excited for the spotlight and then to be out there for the world, to see me again, because it's been a long time I haven't been in big competitions.
A time of 11.53 seconds is not fast enough to trouble her more illustrious fellow competitors, especially those who finished in the top 3. And dreaming about competing in the Tokyo Olympic Games next year seems unlikely for now, unless some miracles happen.
Right now, I'm just going to focus on myself and my training and then see what the future holds, because I have been out of competitions because of injuries and stuff. So, I don't know. I'm just going to be myself and then try and pray to stay healthy. So, at least, so I can hunt the Tokyo qualifier like standard next season.
Fatou is rather philosophical about her future. She said she wants to compete against the best athletes at such high-level competitions to improve her performance.
The future holds a lot. But right now I'm not going to say much because I don't know. I just want to be healthy again. Like healthy. So I can compete international level. Like, I don't just want this one to be like my last Diamond League. I want to compete in more Diamond Leagues, World Games and Olympic Games.
Sports, including athletics, has suffered a lot this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. Several competitions were cancelled or moved. Among them, the world's biggest sporting event, Tokyo Olympic Games. With the Diamond League held across several cities in Europe in the past week, this might be a window of opportunity for athletics competitions to return in full. Momodu Gajaga, QTV News.
We will take another short break and we continue with sports news when we return. Gambia's #1 female tennis player, Binta Kamara, says she has not played her favorite sport since February due to the coronavirus pandemic restrictions causing the closure of sporting venues. Alhaji Ahmad Cham has more.
The country's #1 female tennis player says COVID-19 has not only retarded her progress in the game, but that it is also a setback for the country. She added that she was doing very well before COVID-19 struck, but the closure of the tennis court at the Independence Stadium has deeply affected tennis players.
It affects it a lot because other countries are playing tennis, but here in the Gambia we are not playing tennis because the stadium is closed and the government too is not helping our tennis.
We lost a lot financially due to the lack of competition during the period, she said. Kamara feels that tennis and other sports facilities should be open for them to get back to training. She is of the opinion that the Tennis Federation cannot do much to assist them financially because the federation has no sponsors, unlike football.
We need to organize tournaments, we play, we train so that we can go further. If not, because just sitting at home will not help us.
Gambia's #1 further added that COVID-19 is not only affecting tennis, but sports in general and other social activities across the world. However, she prays that COVID-19 goes away very soon so that life gets back to normal.
It goes away soon so that we can get back to tennis and other sports too, because tennis is not just a hobby, it's our career and job.
Alhaji Ahmad Cham, Qtv News.
Before we end this bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. Yesterday, President Barrow attended the first ever virtual meeting of the Cabinet's COVID-19 subcommittee. Officials of the Food Safety and Quality Authority have issued a warning to food business operators against selling expired food products and give the all clear on chicken imported from Brazil. In international news, former sports journalist has added his name to the crowded field of those vying to be elected president of Uganda. In sports news, we heard from Gambian athlete Fatou Sow, who took part in the Stockholm Diamond League, matching up with some of the finest sprinters in the women's 100 meters final. Also, Gambian's #1 female tennis player, Binta Kamara, said she has not played her favorite sport since February due to the coronavirus pandemic restrictions. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you for watching.